Welcome to the Revenue Marketing Report powered by CaliberMind. This is your podcast to learn the skills you need to succeed in leadership. Today I'm joined by Dale Zwizinski. Dale, thanks so much for coming back. Today we're going to talk about aligning marketing strategy with sales needs. What's the first thing that pops into your mind?
Once again, communication and alignment on quality leads. I think we talked about this the other day is how do we, what's the ICP? How are we going to align it? And when we're getting leads, like not just dumping a bunch of leads. One of the things I see people do really bad, even on the sales side, is they overhire. So like we're going to hire a bunch of salespeople because we think we're going to get all these leads. Let's get the process down proper. And I think doing a proper handshake between marketing and sales. And I always think like people talk about handovers a lot. Like, I'm going to hand over a lead from marketing to sales, and I'm going to hand over from sales to CS. And I think that's where a lot of challenges become. So doing a handshake and getting marketing and sales potentially in a call, conversation, how this thing's going, I think would be a good starting point.
What I've seen, and let's see if this resonates with you. A lot of marketing strategies that are big awareness drivers take about 6 months to really pay off. And we have salespeople who need to hit their goal now. What I see too often is that the marketing leader gets focused on this major project and forgets to feed the sales team.
And I don't know if there's a feeding mechanism here. What I would like to see more is having sales generate content, like write content, and have marketing edit the content. Like, because it's not necessarily that sales are good or not good at writing content, but marketing can help them. But what marketing needs to understand is like we can't make it too fluffy. Like there's a dynamic. Like I think of marketing and sales. Like I think of marketing at like the 30,000 foot level. Like how are we going to drive awareness? What are we going to do for brand? How are people going to find us? And if we can say that to sales, like we're going to help you with awareness that when you go to schedule a meeting or get a meeting or do outbound, it's going to be like it's going to be much easier for you guys than for you guys to have to generate your own awareness. So what I would do as a marketing leader in that perspective is have a side project on how can we start enabling the sales team to generate awareness at a micro level while marketing generates awareness at a macro level. So it could be content on LinkedIn. It could be little YouTube video. Like it could be a lot of different things, but that's what I would do as I'm doing the macro. I'm going to get brand awareness in 6 to 8 months. The sales team already knows customers, prospects, and CS, by the way, knows customers as well. Like how can we get brand equity and awareness through our current customer prospect base? Our salespeople are out there all the time. Like how can marketing help enable the sales and marketing team to drive the micro awareness?
Yeah, I guess what I've seen from my side is one, sales is sometimes reluctant to have marketing touch what they're doing because they think they're going to get long-winded, which happens. The other side of that is as soon as a rich converting lead source starts to dwindle, I have 5 salespeople at my desk telling me I'm doing the wrong thing.
I think we have to trust each other. Like there's this sense of trust. Like I think I go back like to like sports. So I played soccer in college, and I have to trust like when I played, back, I had to trust that if I kicked the ball up to the forward, that the forward was going to take the ball and go try to score. Right. So like it's that same mechanism that, we have to trust each other and trust that we're going to figure out the ways to do it. I think where we start losing trust is and this is probably a little bit more me, but if people aren't trying to change, if something's not working, like if something's not working, totally cool. What are we going to do to change what's not working? Like too many times I'll hear this doesn't work or that doesn't work. It's like, okay, great. It's not working, but how are we going to try to fix it? How are we going to try to change it? Do we need a brainstorming session? Like, let's all get in a room and do this together so that we can trust whatever we come up with as a majority we're going to go forward together.
That's a great point. And I think the organizations where I've seen it work, it goes back to alignment. If the sales leaders bought in and advocating, that buys you some additional patience too.
Yeah. but you said something really interesting. Like, if the sales leader, like, if there's not a trust at the sales leadership, at the revenue leadership level, let's just call it revenue leadership. So marketing and sales together, like, if we stop segmenting them into silos and say the revenue leader team believes this, and if we go in there with a united front and we're not undercutting each other, back to trust, back to alignment and expectations on a weekly basis. Like, if we're not hitting our goals, then there's something broken. What is it that's something broken? So a lot of times, like, even with our clients, when we go in, they think the problem is one thing. So they're like, we need more top of funnel, or we need more leads. One client was like, we just need more leads. We have 4 BDRs, we have some AEs, we have 6 CS people. Like, we need more leads. So we went in, we were like, okay, so we looked at it. It wasn't a problem. They were getting plenty of leads. The problem was the HubSpot process was broken. So leads were getting stuck in HubSpot and they were like not getting followed up with. And it's like, and there were like a bunch of workflows that are overwriting each other. And like, so it's like, okay, the problem really isn't you need more leads. That may be a problem later on. But the first problem is like, let's fix the process and let's get the process running properly and then see what we have.
I mean, I wasn't going to go down the tooling road, but now that you've mentioned it, I have to because you're so right. I can't tell you how many organizations have the lead to nowhere. You might as well burn the
Yeah.
money in the parking
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
And the other issue I've seen is improper lead gating mechanisms. So they're sending
Mhm.
leads over whenever there's an enrichment thing that runs.
Yep.
No, no,
Yep.
don't do that.
Or have proper lead scoring, like really look at your lead scoring, like, is it right? Once again, just like you would revisit your ICP every 6 months, like, don't say, hey, I built a lead scoring mechanism like, 18 months ago. Like, does that really work anymore? Did you get feedback from CS that that's really working? And so, one of the things that we've been thinking about lately, because I've done so many built stuff for so many startup companies, when I go in, it's like, what's your real problem? So we actually started thinking about like the special operations of go-to-market. I was watching a documentary on the Navy SEALs, and I'm like, they went in originally thinking that it was one thing, but it was something completely different. They had to change their whole strategy on the fly. One, not to die, and two, like to save like whatever their mission was. And so I kind of think of it the same way when I'm going in to talk to a team or whatever it is. What the problem is that you're having may be the problem. I'm not saying it's not. However, like, if you scratch under the surface and go a couple levels deeper, is it that you have enough leads and they're just getting sit, like no one's following up with them? And then marketing's like, I'm sending you leads, and sales is like, they're crap. And it's like, no one's following up on the good ones. It's like, oh my God.
I'm having flashbacks to earlier in my career when I was in RevOps. And you're right. Every time I came into an organization, the first thing I spent a lot of time on was the marketing to sales handoff because somehow, and I'd come in with a theory and always be proven wrong because there's so many things that can break.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100.
that's a fantastic place to
A hundred
focus.
percent. And so it's actually, we haven't talked about this role in the go-to-market strategy, but revenue operations to me, like, it's getting such a weird term because people like they're not really defining it well. But if you have a
No,
really good revenue operations person that can tie lead flow into sales, into CS, and understand like conversion rates. And this is where I'm going back to data. Like, can I trust the data? Like, that's the next thing. Like, okay, so now if we transition you into a new HubSpot migration and we're in a new HubSpot instance, can I trust the data that's coming out of that? Like, this is where my tech geeky mind ends up going. Like, I really want to understand, can I trust the data? Because now I can make decisions based on the data. But the reason why people don't make decisions on data because they don't always trust it. So they're like, I'm never. So you got to fix, once again. Let's fix the root of the problem so that we can make better decisions.
you are so right. I'm really involved with the RevOps co-op. They've got about 11,000 members and run regular
Yeah.
surveys on how RevOps is defined. And so many organizations are still myopically focused on one department,
Yep.
and that can shift. The other issue is they're not giving them exposure to frontline or executive managers.
Yeah. And they need a seat at the table somewhere. And I'm not sure, like, what I've seen, but it's starting to shift is like most RevOps people start at sales ops and now they're moving into RevOps. I'm seeing like there's super good ones out there. Like Lisa Kelly, David Maxey. Like there's some really, really good RevOps people out there. And they really look across the whole life cycle. And if you get that person, like keep them with everything you can because it's so rare right now. And if you can get the good data, then you can really find where your problem is. It's like, oh, I need more leads. No, maybe like you don't need more leads. You got to keep your customers because they're like falling out of the bottom of the funnel. Like, who knows?
Oh, I think you're absolutely right. I think what's hard though is when a company hasn't realized yet that they don't have product market fit.
Yeah, so we deal with a lot of founder-led sales and they're trying to get to product market fit. The challenge becomes, well, I've seen the challenge becoming is they're spending a lot of money with a bunch of leaders, but they don't have the foundation, the process built properly. Once again, like bring people in that can build the entire process for you, then bring the leader in that can execute on the process. Because I struggled with this when I was doing full-time work. Like I couldn't build the strategy and the process and do the work all at the same time. Like you drop something. Like what I tell a lot of founders and people that are trying to do this, like you probably have 10 priorities for a year. Let's call it 10 priorities. The revenue leader can probably do 2 or 3, but like 4 to 6 is like just as important. You just can't do them all. So like how do you fill that gap? And that's really where I think if you strategically bring people in to like to scale this and build this, you can do it properly. But you can't bring in like, okay, I'm going to hire a CRO and a head of marketing, but then like you run out of runway. Like that's what we see. And then all of a sudden the founder's like, now I gotta like, bring in somebody else because these guys aren't doing their job. It's not really that they're not doing their job. You just haven't set the right expectations. And now you got to go try to find someone else to do it.
That's so logical. Just makes sense. Thank you, Dale. I'm looking forward to talking about our next topic. Is your churn linked to marketing? I'm fascinated.
I like this one.
Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to the Revenue Marketing Report. Please tell 2 friends, subscribe, download, whatever you can helps. And for those of you looking for more great content like this, check out calibervine.com.